It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Maruthi Amardeep. Mr. Amardeep, currently serving as CEO and co-founder of Bluj Aerospace, is an aerospace professional with around 2 decades of experience. Before this role, Mr. Amar held the position of engineering director at Skyroot Aerospace. He also contributed as Senior Finite Element Analysis engineer at Collins Aerospace. His time at GE Global Research was also marked particularly for R&D programs to create lightweight components for aircraft engines and wind turbines. Coming from an aeronautical engineering background, Mr. Amar has a degree from University of Cincinnati. Today, he will be talking about self-reliance in defense sector. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Amardeep.
So I will mostly talk about like my views on self-reliance in defense sector and just briefly show a couple of slides on what we are doing from our end at Bluj Aerospace. Right. So if you look at overall defense sector in the country, so we can broadly, in the context of what we're going to discuss today, we can broadly see that as when it comes to the products, right? One is missiles and one could be aircraft, including helicopters, and then we have unmanned air vehicles, and then we have Navy, which has submarines and ships. So within all these sectors, again, the self-reliance, which we have discussed so far in the topic, right, significantly is the key. So far, we have been relying heavily on imports for majority of these sectors, where we do have self-reliance in terms of some of the components manufacturing, integration, assembly, but we are nowhere in terms of owning majority of these technologies. Still a long way to go there. And within this, again, I will briefly touch only on UAVs because this is going to be a vast topic if you have to go through all of those. And UAVs is one thing that we have been closely working with for quite some time. And within UAVs, if you see again, broadly, if you have to divide, propulsion is one thing, and avionics and structures. So among these, whatever the components that, like if you have to differentiate again at different levels of manufacturing or designing these systems and components. So within propulsion, if you see, we have again engines, batteries, or fuel cells, depending on which kind of technology we're using. So where we are quite good at what I would say is manufacturing of certain subcomponents and integration, but we still don't have, I mean, even today, we don't have a IC engine for aircraft, like forget even about jet engine. I'm not even going into jet engine, but even a IC engine for aircraft, a piston engine, we don't have anything that is made in India that is flying on Indian aircraft. And even though when we have such a strong automotive engine manufacturers in the country, so this is something that we have to look after. And at the same time, on the other aspects, like we still do not have battery cells that are manufactured in India. We're heavily relying on imports for that. And we don't have fuel cell supplies in India. And when it comes to avionics, again, very proud to say that I think briefly Mr. Joseph has touched upon this, that LCA aircraft has ran for what I heard from one of the experts who worked on the program was for almost like 10,000 hours it has run without any incident. And this is the first time in the world. So which is a great thing that we have achieved. And it clearly shows what we are capable of doing in terms of engineering. But where we still lack is from the same person, what I heard is even the chip that has to go on that flight computer, which has to go on LCA. The chip has to be imported. Even back like 20 years back then, they had a lot of struggle in importing the chip because people were not ready to supply what is the most advanced chip back then. So still they have to really compromise for what they're able to import. And even with that, we're able to achieve the kind of reliability that LCA is showing today. But at the same time, just imagine what can happen if we ourselves can go down to the level of making our chips. So that can put us in a much better trajectory or much better position in the whole world is what I feel. And coming to structures again. So in structures, we have, if we touch mostly on the composite structures, because that is what that is what the direction which the entire world aviation is moving towards, or aircraft structures are moving towards. So this again boils down to getting the raw material, which is carbon fiber, and then making that into a form that can be used as a raw material for manufacturing, and then various different manufacturing processes, and then finally getting into components and testing. So here we as a country have improved a lot in terms of manufacturing the systems, be it Tata Advanced Materials, be it Mahindra Aerospace, be it LMW, or be it companies like L&T. So they have acquired a lot of knowledge because of working with technology transfers or forming JVs with various other companies. And they have done their bit in bringing some level of discipline in manufacturing. I wouldn't say technology, but what they have actually brought in is some level of discipline that is required to actually manufacture these, and what are the levels of quality that we have to follow. So that is what that has been brought to the country, definitely. But what we still lack is we have no control on the actual supply of raw material. So we still don't have a carbon fiber manufacturer in the country. So Reliance has been trying to do that for some years, and we hope they'll do that very soon. But there is still a need for many people to work on these base raw material supply within the country. So these are basically some of the gaps that we can see. And when we look at the opportunity, what this opens up for many people. So when I say opportunity, again, what, at least in my opinion or my thoughts of what has been seen in the last few years, is majority of the large corporations have their own limitations in terms of how much time and effort they can put in this kind of the basic element R&D development. So it's really up to most of MSMEs and the startups to really focus on these areas, which may not be of the core interest of majority of these large companies, because large companies have their direction of forming JVs or getting directly some of the technologies. And again, I really echo with what Mr. Joseph said here, that whenever we talk about technology transfer, we are only going to get technology which is at least 2 or 3 generations behind. So nobody is going to give us any new technology, right? So with these things, all the opportunity there actually exists for the new companies. But that being said, what are the challenges that are, what are the challenges that exist even with these opportunities available? So there are 3 things. One is, of course, capital. And the other thing is skilled manpower and resources. The other resources other than capital, and our overall knowledge or our skill in terms of scaling up any production or any technology from small scale to large scale. So with these 3 blocks there, what we see is in all these 3 blocks, again, improvements are happening. So within capital, if you see now, there is more risk appetite in the country. There are more people who are willing to fund these kind of companies who are working in deep tech, thanks to companies like Aether, Agnicool, or Skyroot, and even a lot of other companies within deep tech, right? So thanks to these companies, a lot of emphasis has been put on these, and people are now open to fund these kind of companies. And coming to skilled manpower, like I said before, one of the things that this technology transfers has done for us with large organizations is building skilled manpower more than anything else, in my opinion. So skilled manpower is also like improving day by day and increasing in numbers day by day, so we can tap into this skilled manpower. And at the same time, coming back to the earlier point that I said with Chandrayaan, so that is a testament of saying that we do have enough knowledge on enormous number of systems and complex systems in the country. So how do we tap into this expertise and getting some of these experts on board for building these kind of technologies? And then the third and the most important part is scaling up. This is what China has done brilliantly, and we need to learn much more on that aspect. So on how we'll actually scale up these technologies once we get those things right. So these are areas that we definitely have to focus on. And just before I conclude, so I just saw today that the total defense purchase or the defense revenue, or what you call it, for India has been like about 40,000 crores in 2014, and that has become like 51,000 crores in 2022. So in just a span of 6 years, that has increased by 10,000 crores. And at the same time, exports have increased from, in the same time period, about 1,500 crores to close to 12,000 crores today. So that says about the total opportunity that is available. But it's just that we have to find new ways of doing things, both from technology and also business models, and that is what is going to put us in the right trajectories, my thought. So if I still have a couple of minutes, maybe I can just go through a few slides to show what we are doing at Bluj. So what we're doing at Bluj is we are trying to make aviation simple and sustainable, and that we're trying to do by building long-range vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So here, one of the many few problems that I have touched upon, the real problem here that we are trying to solve is, if you see, there is a rising demand for faster and safer delivery of goods, and we as a country always had a lot of difficulty in accessing many remote regions and difficult terrains. And there is a lot of inefficient regional transport for passengers. So one can say, like, why don't we build a lot of airports? Why don't we build a lot of high-speed rail and all? But for a country like us, those are not the answers, because you can just see how much it costs, and the kind of budgets that we have, the kind of duration it takes for us to make this. So these solutions make sense for some applications, but those are not the only answer for us to really solve our problems. So we need to have solutions that are going to solve our problems in the way that are most efficient for countries' needs. So that's where we feel the solution has to be like VTOL aircraft, which can travel long ranges and carry heavy payloads, which is what makes even the economics of this make sense. Otherwise, like smaller aircraft and smaller things, which would be good for few niche use cases, not really wide applications we can see. And that is where we feel long-range VTOL aircraft is zero emission. Those are going to be the real solution for the problems that we face. And this is what we're working towards at Bluj. And like I touched upon some of the activities, we are actually trying to build a lot of these technologies in-house. So still we are dependent on various imports for buying like the base elements, but we are doing our part in building most of the technologies in-house, at least at the level which is just above the raw material stage. So I would like to give the same message to everyone out there who are trying to build their companies or trying to build their organizations or whatever directions they take. Just have thought towards trying to build the technologies than just looking at acquiring technologies from elsewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amardeep, for sharing your insights on self-reliance in defense sector.